I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 6 English lesson on perfect verb tenses. So we'll be doing our grade 6 English lesson on perfect verb tenses. And before we start with our lesson on perfect verb tenses, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language art, grade 6. And before, so grade 6. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of perfect verb tenses. All right. And when it comes to perfect verb tenses, right? Or let's say the lesson for today, we're doing the chapter of perfect verb tenses. Our subject is English, which is language arts, grade 6. And the lessons that we are focusing on today under the chapter of future verb tenses, it is to use the perfect verb tense or tenses to form the perfect verb tenses. And also we're going to choose between the past tense and past participle. All right. So when it comes to the future verb tenses, right? Or specifically using the perfect verb tenses, then the perfect verb tense, it usually describes a completed action. So a perfect verb tense, it usually describes a completed action or completed actions. It basically tells us about something that has, had, or something that will have happened, right? So that is basically a perfect tense, right? So the perfect tense, it usually describes completed actions, and it tells us about something that tells us about something that had, or it tells us about something that will have happened. All right. And remember, when it comes to tenses, right? So it says future verb tenses. That is our chapter. So when it comes to tenses, tenses are usually something that will tell us an action that is either happening in the present, in the past, or in the future tense. Right? So our tenses are either present tense, past tense, or future tense. And when it comes to the present tense, right? Or let's say the present perfect tense. Because remember, firstly, we said a perfect tense, it describes completed action. So when it basically comes to the present perfect tense, then it tells us about something that has happened or has started already. So the present perfect tense, it tells us about something that has happened or has started already. So when it comes to the present perfect tense, right? The present perfect tense, it uses the helping verb has, or it uses the helping verb have. So the present perfect tense, it uses the helping verb has or have. And if you look at two examples, right, of the present perfect tense, right, present meaning something that has happened or has already started. For example, the airplane has arrived at the gate already. So, an example is the airplane has arrived at the gate already. And we said that when it comes to the present perfect tense, right, it basically tells us something that has happened or has already happened. And it uses the perfect or it uses the helping verb, which is has, or uses the helping verb have. And we made an example where we said that the airplane has already, or has, sorry, arrived at the gate already. And if we look at the next example, right, with the helping verb have, then we can say John and Erica have played the violin for 5 years. So John and Erica have played the violin for 5 years. And this basically tells us something that has happened or has started already. And in this case, these two sentences, it uses the helping verb has or have or and have. All right. So we said when it comes to the tenses, right, we have our present tense, past tense, and future tense. So that was the present perfect tense. Now we're going on to the past perfect tense. And now when it comes to our past perfect tense, right? You can't seem to find the chapter on aplusstudents.ca, or where can't you find the chapter? Because you basically have to find it on aplusstudents.ca under grade 6. So you go to aplusstudents.ca, then you go to grade 6, and then we scroll down up until we get to perfect verb tenses. This is under aplusstudents.ca. Perfect verb tenses. All right. So when it comes to the past perfect tense, right? The past perfect tense, it tells about something that had happened before something else. All right. I'm glad you can see it now. And the past perfect tense, right? It uses the helping verb, which is had. The present tense uses the helping verb has and have, and the past perfect tense uses the helping verb had. For example, we had finished dinner by the time term arrived. We had finished dinner by the time term arrived. And then we have the future perfect tense, right? And the future perfect tense, it tells about something that will have happened by a certain point in the future. And the future perfect tense uses the helping verb will have. An example of that is the race will have started by noon tomorrow. All right. So that is basically our perfect tenses. And remember, we said our tenses when we hear past tense, present tense, perfect verb tenses, then you must know it is anything to do with the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense, right? And in this case, we have the future verb tenses, specifically the perfect tense that usually describes a completed action. All right. So now we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. And then we're going to our first lesson, which is to use the perfect verb tense. Right? And we said the perfect verb tense, it usually describes a completed action, and it tells about something that that's something that had, or something that will have happened. All right. And remember, we said when it comes to different tenses, right? Oopsie. And then we have our present tense, past tense, as well as our future tense. And in this case, we have our present perfect tense, our past perfect tense, and our future perfect tense. And we said a perfect tense, it describes a completed action, and it usually tells us something that has, had, or will have happened. All right. And if we look at the first sentence, right, or activity, then we need to use either the words has, have, had, or will have, right? Depending on the specific tense. It says complete the sentence with the correct helping verb or helping verbs. Sancho, do we say Sancho have, Sancho has, Sancho had, or Sancho will have volunteered at the animal shelter for years, and everyone there appreciates his commitment. And in this case, we then use the helping verb. Sancho has volunteered at the animal shelter for years, and everyone there appreciates his commitment. And we need to complete the sentence with the correct helping verb or helping verbs. By the end of this week of camp, remember, by the end of this week, it means it did not happen yet. It will still happen. It's in the future. By the end of this week of camp, Gwen, and we will say Gwen will have learned how to drive a horse, or how to ride a horse, sorry. Drive a car, ride a horse. But we use the helping verb will have, and that is the future perfect tense. All right. So now let's go to our test, we will use the perfect verb tenses. So we're going to complete the sentence with the correct helping verb or helping verbs. We are recording the president's speech because do we say it will have or it has ended by the time we get home? So it says we are recording the president's speech because do we say it will have or it has ended by the time we get home? All right. So we are recording the president's speech because it, do we say will have ended by the time we get home or it has ended by the time we get home? So we need to select the tense. And if we select the tense, all right, let's choose will have. And it says we are recording the president's speech because it will have ended by the time we get home. And will have is correct. So well done, everybody. Will have is correct. All right. We need to complete the sentence with the correct helping verbs. Our back gate. Do we say our back gate will have rusted or has rusted and now it squeaks loudly wherever it moves? So we need to choose between will have or has. So we say our back gate. Do we say will have rusted or has rusted and now it squeaks loudly whenever it moves? All right. And if we select our verbs or helping verbs, then we'll say our backgate has rusted and now it squeaks loudly whenever it moves. But has is correct. So well done, has is correct. And we need to complete the sentence with the correct helping verb or helping verbs. Has was the correct one. The next one. By the time that the water cools down enough to drink, the tea, do we say will have steeped or the tea had steeped? So will have steeped or it has steeped, had steeped. So it will have steeped or it had steeped. All right. And if we select our helping verb, and then we're going to select will have, right? And will have steeped is correct. So well done, everybody. Well done. Now we're going to form perfect verb tenses. And we see the perfect tense, it usually describes completed actions and it tells us about something that has, had, or will have happened, right? And in order for us to form the perfect tense, we need to use a form of helping verb to have with the past participle in the main verb. But most verbs, right? For most verbs, sorry, the past participle is the same as the past tense form. So the past participle is the same as the past tense form. So we need to basically either use the word has, had, or will have, right? So we need to complete the sentence with the present perfect form of the verb. It says the first sentence or activity says, our apple tree. All right. So we will then say, our apple tree, it has produced over 100 apples this year. Is it 100? Yeah, 100 apples this year. All right. So Tessa and I fill the water balloons. We need to select the correct one. So Tessa and I, we will say have filled all the water balloons. So have filled or filled. This and I have filled the water balloons. So have filled, right? So that is us just completing the sentence with the perfect verb tenses, whether it is present perfect, past perfect, or future perfect tense. All right, let's go to our test. We're going to our test where we need to form the perfect verb tenses. We're going to form the perfect verb tenses. So we will say that Alvin, do we say Alvin finish chapter 3 by tomorrow? Or do we say Alvin will have finished chapter 3 by tomorrow? So tomorrow is in the future. So do we say Alvin finished chapter 3 by tomorrow? Or Alvin will have finished chapter 3 by tomorrow? So we will then say, if it's by tomorrow, then we know it is in the future. So we will say Alvin will have finished chapter 3 by tomorrow. And well done. That is correct. We need to complete the sentence with the future perfect form of the verb. Do we say the candles burn out by tomorrow morning? Or the candles will have burnt out by tomorrow morning? So do we say the candles burn out of tomorrow morning? Or the candles will have burnt out by tomorrow morning? So burn or will have burnt. All right. And if we complete the sentence with the future perfect form of the verb, then we can say the candles will have burned out by tomorrow morning. Right, so will have burned is correct. And will have burned is correct. So well done. And then we need to complete the sentence with the present perfect form of the verb. Present, like now, right? The diner, do we say the diner replace its old chairs with bright new ones? Or the diner has replaced its old chairs with bright new ones? So we will then say the diner. We say replace the old chairs with bright new ones, or the diner has replaced its old chairs with bright new ones. So we then say the diner has replaced its old chairs with bright new ones. And has replaced is correct. So well done. And then we need to choose between the past tense and the past participle. And we said when it comes to the perfect tense, right, it usually tells about something that has, had, or will have happened. And it uses a form of the helping verb, which is to have, with the past participle of a verb. And the past participle, right, of a verb is usually the same. So the past participle of a verb is usually the same as the past tense form, but not always. Whereas some verbs are irregular past tense or past participle. So we're going to have to remember them. For example, Toby had seen that movie, which means that this is irregular. It is where, let's say, the wording kind of changes. So we have examples where we say, Toby had seen that movie. I have run a marathon. The tree has grown taller, and Clear will have eaten dinner. And the past tense, it does not use the helping verb to have. It uses the past tense form of the verb, which is Toby saw that movie. I ran a marathon. The tree grew taller, and Claire will have ate dinner. Right? So now we're going to all right, so we see that the perfect verb tense, it usually tells about something that has, had, or will have happened, and it uses a form of helping verb, which is to have, with the past participle of a verb. All right, and now let's go to our test. And this is where we choose between the past tense or past participle. And we can say President Clinton often, do we say often spoke, or often spoken about the importance of good education? So President Clinton do we say have, or let's say often spoke about the importance of good education, or President Clifton often spoken about the importance of a good education? All right. So now we can say the President Clinton often spoke about the importance of good education. And spoke is correct. So well done. And these geese do we say, have flew here all the way from Canada, or do we say these geese have flown here all the way from Canada? So we say these geese do we say have flown here all the way from Canada, or have flew? Let's go with have flown. And flown is correct. So well done. All right. So we basically have perfect verb tenses also. And with perfect verb tenses, remember it tells us about things that is either in our present, past, or in the future. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson on perfect verb tenses. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope that you're going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.